Hey everyone, it's Treasure of. Today, we're diving into a topic I get asked about a lot: natural supplements for managing ADHD symptoms. It's a complex area and there's a lot of information and misinformation out there. While some people find that certain natural supplements can be a helpful part of their overall ADHD management plan, it's crucial to understand that the scientific research is often limited or inconclusive. We're going to break down what the science actually says, separating the hype from the reality. Before we get into the specifics, I have to say this, and it's probably the most important message in this entire video. You must always, and I mean always, consult with your healthcare provider before starting any new supplement. This isn't just a disclaimer, it's a critical step for your safety. Supplements can interact with medications, have side effects, and might not be right for your specific health situation. Your doctor can help you navigate this safely and effectively. One of the key reasons supplements might be considered is to address potential nutrient deficiencies. Some studies suggest a link between lower levels of certain vitamins and minerals and ADHD. So, for some individuals, supplementing can help bring those levels back to where they should be, which might, in turn, have a positive impact on their symptoms. But again, this isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. Let's get into the top 10 supplements people talk about for ADHD and see what the evidence really shows. Stay curious. First up, let's talk about omega-3 fatty acids. You've probably heard of these as the healthy fats found in things like fatty fish, think salmon and mackerel, as well as in plant-based sources like flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts. They are essential nutrients, meaning our bodies can't produce them on their own, so we have to get them from our diet. Omega-3s, particularly EPA and DHA, are well known for their role in brain health and development, which is why they've become a major focus of interest for ADHD. The theory is that since the brain is largely composed of fat, increasing your intake of these specific healthy fats could support better brain function, potentially improving things like focus, memory, and cognitive processing. Some people with ADHD have been found to have lower levels of omega-3s compared to their neurotypical peers. This observation has fueled a lot of research into whether supplementation could make a difference in managing symptoms like inattention and hyperactivity. It's a compelling idea, right? However, and this is a big however, the research here is pretty mixed. When you look at meta-analyses, which are studies that combine the results of many other studies, the findings are inconclusive. Some studies show a small but statistically significant benefit, particularly for inattention, while others find no difference at all between the omega-3 group and the placebo group. The results seem to vary widely depending on the dosage, the ratio of EPA to DHA, and the specific population being studied. So, what's the takeaway? It's not a magic bullet. While ensuring you have adequate omega-3 levels is important for overall brain health, the evidence that high-dose supplementation will dramatically reduce ADHD symptoms just isn't strong enough to make it a primary treatment recommendation. It might offer a modest benefit for some, but it's not a substitute for established treatments. We need more high-quality, large-scale studies to really understand its role. It's also important to be aware of potential risks. If you're allergic to fish or shellfish, you need to be very careful about the source of your omega-3 supplement. Additionally, omega-3s can have a blood-thinning effect. So if you're already taking blood-thinning medications like warfarin, or if you have a bleeding disorder, it's absolutely essential to talk to your doctor before even considering these supplements, as the combination could increase your risk of bleeding. Next on our list is iron. Iron is a mineral that plays a truly vital role in our bodies. It's a key component of hemoglobin, the protein in red blood cells that carries oxygen from our lungs to every other part of our body, including the brain. But its job doesn't stop there. Iron is also essential for the production of neurotransmitters, including dopamine, which is a major player in the brain's reward and motivation system and is heavily implicated in ADHD. Given iron's role in dopamine synthesis, researchers have hypothesized that low iron levels could contribute to ADHD symptoms. In fact, some studies have found that children with ADHD are more likely to have low iron levels, specifically low ferritin levels. Ferritin is a protein that stores iron in the body. This correlation has led to the question, Could correcting an iron deficiency help alleviate some of the symptoms of ADHD? It's a logical connection to explore. Several studies have looked into this, and the results are intriguing, though not definitive. Some research suggests that for children who are actually deficient in iron, supplementation can lead to improvements in ADHD symptoms. However, for individuals who already have normal iron levels, taking extra iron doesn't seem to provide any benefit, and, more importantly, can be dangerous. This is a critical distinction to make. This brings me to a very serious point. You should never, ever start taking iron supplements without consulting a healthcare provider and getting your levels checked first. Unlike some water-soluble vitamins, where your body just excretes the excess, iron can build up in your system to toxic levels. This condition, known as iron overload or hemochromatosis, can cause severe damage to your organs, including your liver, heart, and pancreas. It's not something to take lightly. So the bottom line on iron is this: it's all about deficiency. If a blood test confirms that you or your child has low iron levels, your doctor may recommend a supplement, and this could potentially help with ADHD symptoms as part of correcting the deficiency. But taking iron just in case without a confirmed need is a bad idea with potentially serious health consequences. Always get tested first. Let's move on to magnesium. This is another essential mineral that's a real workhorse in the body, involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions. It's crucial for everything from nerve and muscle function to maintaining a steady heartbeat and a strong immune system. When it comes to the brain, magnesium plays a key role in regulating neurotransmitters that promote calmness and relaxation. It helps to modulate the activity of the nervous system, which is why it's sometimes called the calming mineral. Because of its role in nerve function and its calming properties, there's been interest in whether magnesium levels could be related to ADHD. The thinking is that if magnesium helps regulate the nervous system, perhaps low levels could contribute to the hyperactivity, impulsivity, and restlessness often seen in ADHD. It's an interesting hypothesis, and some researchers have started to investigate this potential link. What does the research say? Well, similar to iron, some studies have observed that children with ADHD may have lower magnesium levels than children without the condition. A few small studies have explored magnesium supplementation, sometimes in combination with vitamin B6, and have reported improvements in hyperactivity. However, these studies are often small, lack robust control groups, and the results are not consistent across the board. The evidence we have so far is really preliminary. We can say there's a potential association between low magnesium and more severe ADHD symptoms, but we can't definitively say that low magnesium causes ADHD or that supplementation is an effective treatment. It's a classic case of correlation not equaling causation. It's possible that other factors related to diet or metabolism in individuals with ADHD lead to lower magnesium levels, rather than the low magnesium itself being the root of the problem. Therefore, much more research is needed to understand this relationship. If you're concerned about magnesium levels, the best first step is to focus on a diet rich in magnesium-containing foods like leafy green vegetables, nuts, seeds, and whole grains. If you're considering a supplement, especially in higher doses, it's a conversation to have with your healthcare provider. While magnesium is generally safer than iron, high doses can cause digestive issues like diarrhea and may interfere with the absorption of certain medications. Now, let's talk about zinc. Zinc is another crucial mineral that's essential for overall health. It plays a significant role in immune function, wound healing, and cell growth. In the brain, zinc is important for regulating the communication between neurons and is involved in the metabolism of neurotransmitters, including dopamine and norepinephrine. Since these neurotransmitters are central to attention and impulse control, zinc's role in their function has made it a subject of study for ADHD. Similar to the other minerals we've discussed, the primary interest in zinc for ADHD stems from observations that some children with the condition may have lower zinc levels than their peers. This has led researchers to question whether this deficiency could be contributing to their symptoms. The theory is that by correcting a zinc deficiency, you might help normalize neurotransmitter function, and in turn reduce symptoms of hyperactivity, impulsivity, and inattention. Several studies have investigated zinc supplementation for ADHD, and the results, once again, are a bit of a mixed bag. Some research, particularly studies conducted in regions where zinc deficiency is more common, has shown that zinc supplementation can be a helpful adjunct to traditional ADHD medication, potentially allowing for a lower dose of stimulants. However, other studies have found no significant benefit. The effectiveness seems to be most pronounced in individuals who are actually deficient in zinc to begin with. This highlights a recurring theme. Supplementation is most likely to be effective when it's correcting an underlying deficiency. If your zinc levels are already adequate, adding more zinc is unlikely to provide any extra benefit for ADHD symptoms, and could even cause problems. Taking too much zinc can lead to digestive side effects like nausea and an upset stomach. It's not something you want to overdo. Furthermore, zinc supplements can interact with certain medications, including some antibiotics and diuretics. It can affect how these drugs are absorbed and utilized by the body. Because of these potential side effects and interactions, it's vital to talk to your doctor or a registered dietitian before adding a zinc supplement to your routine. They can help determine if you might be deficient and guide you on a safe and appropriate dosage, if it's needed at all. Let's broaden our scope and talk about vitamins in general, specifically vitamins B, C, and D, which are often mentioned in discussions about ADHD. Each of these plays a unique and important role in the body and brain. B vitamins, for instance, are critical for energy production and the synthesis of neurotransmitters. Vitamin C is a powerful antioxidant that helps protect the brain from damage, and vitamin D is involved in a huge range of functions, including brain development and mood regulation. The rationale for looking at these vitamins for ADHD is based on their fundamental roles in brain health. For example, since B vitamins are cofactors in creating dopamine and serotonin, a deficiency could theoretically impair this process. Some have suggested that vitamin C could help modulate dopamine levels, and given the links between low vitamin D and other neurological conditions, researchers have wondered if it might play a role in ADHD as well. It's a complex web of biochemical interactions. However, when we look for strong, direct evidence linking vitamin supplementation to improved ADHD symptoms, the research is very sparse and often contradictory. For example, while some small studies have suggested a benefit from high-dose B vitamin complexes, these findings haven't been replicated in larger, more rigorous trials. Similarly, while maintaining adequate vitamin D is important for everyone, there's no clear proof that supplementing with extra vitamin D will reduce ADHD symptoms in people who aren't deficient. This is an area where we need a lot more high-quality research. The recommended daily allowances for these vitamins vary based on age, sex, and other health factors, so there's no single ADHD dose that's been established or proven effective. The idea of a multivitamin seems appealing as a catch-all, but it may not provide a therapeutic dose of any specific nutrient, and again, the evidence for this approach is lacking. So, the most sensible approach is to focus on a balanced diet first. If you suspect a deficiency, or if you belong to a group at higher risk for one, the best course of action is to speak with your healthcare provider. They can order blood tests to check your levels of specific vitamins like B12 or D. Based on those results, they can recommend a targeted supplement at the correct dosage if it's truly needed, rather than you taking a shot in the dark with over-the-counter products. Now let's shift gears and talk about melatonin. This one is a little different from the others because it's not typically proposed as a direct treatment for the core symptoms of ADHD like inattention or hyperactivity. Instead, melatonin is primarily discussed in the context of one of the most common co-occurring problems for people with ADHD sleep difficulties. Many children and adults with ADHD struggle with falling asleep, staying asleep, or having a restless night. Melatonin is a hormone that your brain produces naturally in response to darkness. It helps regulate your body's internal clock, or circadian rhythm, signaling that it's time to sleep. For individuals with ADHD, this natural process can sometimes be delayed or disrupted, leading to significant sleep problems. This is where melatonin supplementation comes in. The idea is to provide an external signal to the brain to help kickstart the sleep process at a more appropriate time. And in this specific application, the evidence is actually quite good. Multiple studies have shown that low-dose melatonin can be effective in helping children and adults with ADHD fall asleep faster. It can reduce the time it takes to drift off, which can be a huge relief for families struggling with chaotic bedtimes. It's important to be clear, though. Melatonin is helping with the sleep problem, not the ADHD itself. A good night's sleep can, of course, improve focus and mood the next day, but the supplement isn't directly targeting the underlying neurobiology of ADHD. While melatonin is available over the counter and is generally considered safe for short-term use, it's not without potential side effects. Some people may experience mild issues like morning grogginess, dizziness, or headaches. There are also ongoing discussions and a need for more long-term research, especially regarding its use in children and its potential effects on pubertal development, though current evidence hasn't shown significant cause for alarm. Because of these considerations, and because the quality and dosage of over-the-counter melatonin can vary wildly, it's still crucial to use it under the guidance of a healthcare provider. They can help you determine the right dose, often less is more, and the right timing to be most effective. They can also help rule out other potential causes of sleep problems and ensure it's the right choice for your specific situation. Next, we have St. John's wort. This is an herbal supplement that has gained a lot of attention over the years, primarily for its use in managing symptoms of mild to moderate depression. Its mechanism of action is thought to involve affecting levels of neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine in the brain. Since these same neurotransmitters are implicated in ADHD, it's understandable why some people have wondered if it could be helpful for that condition as well. The logic seems plausible on the surface. If it works on the same brain chemicals, maybe it could help with focus and mood regulation in ADHD. However, when we turn to the scientific evidence for St. John's wort as a treatment for ADHD, the picture becomes very clear and, frankly, very disappointing. The evidence is extremely limited and of poor quality. There are very few, if any, well-designed clinical trials to support its use for this purpose. The lack of evidence is a major red flag, but the bigger issue with St. John's wort is its significant potential for drug interactions. This is not a benign herb you can just casually add to your routine. St. John's wort is notorious for interacting with a vast number of prescription medications. It can speed up the metabolism of many drugs, making them less effective. This includes antidepressants, birth control pills, blood thinners, and, critically, ADHD stimulant medications like methylphenidate and amphetamines. Combining St. John's wort with ADHD medications can be unpredictable and potentially dangerous. It could reduce the effectiveness of the prescribed medication, leading to a return of symptoms, or it could lead to other complex interactions. For example, combining it with certain antidepressants or even stimulants can increase the risk of a rare but serious condition called serotonin syndrome, which is a medical emergency. Given the almost complete lack of evidence for its benefit in ADHD and the very real and well-documented risks of serious drug interactions, this is a supplement that I would strongly advise caution against. The potential risks far outweigh any unproven benefits. If you are considering St. John's wort for any reason, it is absolutely imperative that you have a thorough discussion with your doctor and your pharmacist about every single medication and supplement you are taking. Let's discuss ginkgo biloba. This is an extract from the leaves of the ginkgo tree, which is actually one of the oldest living tree species in the world. It has a long history of use in traditional Chinese medicine, often for memory and cognitive issues. In modern times, it's been marketed as a supplement to enhance memory, concentration, and circulation, particularly blood flow to the brain. Because of these claims, it's naturally drawn interest as a potential complementary therapy for ADHD. The proposed mechanism for how ginkgo might help with ADHD is primarily related to its potential to increase blood flow to the brain and its antioxidant properties. The idea here is that improved circulation could deliver more oxygen and nutrients to brain cells, supporting better cognitive function. Some also believe it may have a modest effect on neurotransmitter systems, including dopamine. It's these potential brain-boosting effects that have put it on the radar for ADHD research. However, just like with St. John's wort, the scientific research on ginkgo for ADHD is very limited and honestly, not very promising. A few small studies have been conducted, sometimes combining ginkgo with other substances like ginseng, but the results have been inconsistent and underwhelming. There is no strong, high-quality evidence from large-scale clinical trials to suggest that ginkgo biloba is an effective treatment for the core symptoms of ADHD. On top of the lack of evidence, there are important safety concerns to consider. Ginkgo biloba can act as a blood thinner, which means it can interfere with the body's ability to form clots. This can be very dangerous for certain individuals. If you have a bleeding disorder like hemophilia, or if you are already taking prescription blood-thinning medications such as warfarin, or even daily aspirin, taking ginkgo could significantly increase your risk of uncontrolled bleeding. For this reason, ginkgo biloba should be avoided entirely by people in these groups. It should also be stopped before any planned surgery to reduce the risk of excessive bleeding during the procedure. Given the weak evidence for its use in ADHD and the significant safety risks for a portion of the population, it's not a supplement that can be broadly recommended. The potential for harm, especially through interactions, really requires a very careful conversation with a knowledgeable healthcare provider. Let's move on to ginseng. This is another famous herb with deep roots in traditional medicine, particularly in Asia. It's often promoted as an adaptogen, which is a substance that supposedly helps the body resist stress of all kinds, whether physical, chemical, or biological. It's also commonly used with the goal of boosting energy, improving stamina, and enhancing cognitive function. These stimulating and brain-boosting claims are what have led to its exploration for ADHD. The interest in ginseng for ADHD is based on its reputation as a cognitive enhancer. A few studies have looked into it, but often not in isolation. One of the most frequently cited studies investigated the effects of a combination product containing both American ginseng and ginkgo biloba. Another looked at a combination of ginseng and omega-3 fatty acids. This makes it very difficult to determine what effect, if any, the ginseng had on its own. Unfortunately, the results from these combination studies are unclear and haven't provided a strong signal that ginseng is an effective treatment. Without studies that isolate ginseng and compare it directly against a placebo in a well-designed trial for ADHD, we are left with a lot of questions and very few answers. The scientific community simply doesn't have the data to support recommending ginseng for managing ADHD symptoms. Beyond the lack of clear evidence, there are also several safety considerations and potential interactions to be aware of. Ginseng can have an effect on blood sugar levels, which is a critical consideration for people with diabetes or those taking medications to manage their blood sugar. It can also have estrogen-like effects, which might be a concern for individuals with hormone-sensitive conditions. This is not a simple, harmless route. Additionally, ginseng can interact with a number of medications, including blood thinners like warfarin and some antidepressants. Its stimulating properties could also potentially interfere with or amplify the effects of ADHD stimulant medications in unpredictable ways. Because the results for ADHD are so unclear, and the potential for interactions exists, this is yet another supplement where you must consult a healthcare provider before even considering it, especially if you have any underlying health conditions or are taking any other medications. Finally, let's talk about something many of us use every day: caffeine. Found in coffee, tea, soda, and energy drinks, caffeine is the world's most widely consumed psychoactive substance. It's a central nervous system stimulant, well known for its ability to increase alertness and improve focus. Since prescription ADHD medications are also stimulants, it's logical to wonder if the stimulation from caffeine could produce similar, albeit milder, benefits for people with ADHD. The idea is that caffeine could help increase dopamine levels in the brain, similar to how prescription stimulants work, thereby improving concentration and reducing fatigue. Many adults with ADHD anecdotally report that they use coffee to help them self-medicate, finding that it helps them feel more focused and functional, especially in the morning before their prescribed medication kicks in, or if they are unmedicated. When we look at the research, the picture is complex and depends heavily on age. In adults, some evidence does suggest that caffeine can improve attention and focus. However, the effect is generally considered less potent and less consistent than that of prescription stimulant medications. For children with ADHD, the evidence is much weaker. Most studies have not found a significant benefit, and the potential negative effects, like increased anxiety, jitteriness, and sleep disruption, are a major concern. This brings us to the risks. While a morning cup of coffee is one thing, relying on high doses of caffeine throughout the day is another. There is a real risk of developing caffeine use disorder, where you become dependent on it and experience withdrawal symptoms like headaches and irritability if you stop. High doses can also lead to heart palpitations, increased blood pressure, anxiety, and severe disruption of sleep patterns, which, as we discussed, is already a major issue for many with ADHD. So, while some adults with ADHD might find a modest benefit from a controlled amount of caffeine, it is not a recommended treatment, especially for children. The effectiveness is mixed, the dose is hard to control, and the side effects can be problematic, often exacerbating other issues associated with ADHD. It's not a substitute for evidence-based treatments and should be used with caution and an awareness of its potential downsides. So we've gone through a lot of information today, from omega-3s to caffeine. The main takeaway I hope you leave with is that while the idea of a natural solution is appealing, the world of supplements for ADHD is complex and lacks strong scientific backing for most claims. The most important step, and I'm going to say it one more time because it's that critical, is to always consult with your healthcare provider before starting or stopping any supplement. They can help you understand the potential risks, benefits, and interactions based on your unique health profile. Another crucial point to remember is that supplements are not regulated by the FDA in the same way that prescription drugs are. This means the quality, purity, and dosage listed on the bottle can vary dramatically between brands. If you and your doctor decide that a supplement is appropriate for you, please choose products that have been third-party tested by organizations like NSF, USP, or Consumer Lab. This provides some assurance that what's on the label is actually what's in the bottle. Finally, remember that there is no single magic bullet for ADHD. Management is often a multimodal approach that can include therapy, medication, lifestyle changes, and yes, for some, addressing specific nutritional deficiencies. Be wary of any product or person making bold claims or promising a cure. True health management is a journey and a partnership with your healthcare team. Thanks for watching, stay informed, and be well.